Brilliance Audio presents Red Mistress by Elizabeth Blackwell, performed by Sarah Zimmerman. I've had many faces, many names. I've died and been born again. In prison I was reduced to a number. But I began life as Nadia Shulkina, a name I was once proud of, a name that led to my death. On every family tree there are sturdy, central branches and scrawny offshoots. The Shulkins were a grand old family, rich and well-connected, but even as a girl I knew that my brother and I hovered at the bottom of the hierarchy. Our father was the younger son of a younger son who inherited a mid-sized house in St. Petersburg and a modest country estate, Prialko, that was a fraction of his cousin's land holdings. Because we were surrounded by those who had more, our own position felt far from privileged. Papa, Count Shulkin to the world, was all his title implied, proud of his lineage, politically conservative, and rarely seen in public without the medals he'd earned for loyal service to the Tsar. Beneath the pompous exterior, though, he was kind-hearted and generous, always putting in a good word for friends or loaning them money. He had a similarly good-natured relationship with our staff, or so I thought. Did our servants secretly sneer at him behind his back? One of the revolution's many cruelties is the way it has corrupted my own past, tinging even happy memories with retroactive doubt. My father and mother were comically mismatched, a fact they both acknowledged with resigned acceptance. Mama's grandfather was a French wine exporter who married into an aristocratic but bankrupt Russian family. His son, Mama's father, was a businessman at ease in Paris as much as St. Petersburg, and his children were raised accordingly. Mama played Debussy nocturnes on the piano, made sure her cooks produced flawless petit fours for her afternoon gatherings, was a loyal patron of the ballet, and hired a French nurse when my older brother, Vasily, was born. Mama often told us she had no tolerance for crying babies, and only began spending time with us when we were able to talk. In French, of course. Mama may not have been maternal in the traditional sense, but I didn't care. To me, she was something far better, a real-life romantic heroine, artistic and emotional, with downward tilting eyes that gave her face a naturally wistful expression. She was more beautiful and interesting than any other mother I knew, flitting from enthusiasm to enthusiasm, the piano, painting, fine needlework, poetry. Mama was driven to extremes, whether she was celebrating the completion of a sketch or lamenting the tragic ending of a novel. Whatever mood she touched on, it was soon replaced by another, and I adapted accordingly. I never doubted that Mama loved me, fiercely, even when she brushed me away. There was so much for her to do, so many new things to try, and never enough time. Mama called Papa's extended family boring old sticks in the mud, preferring to socialize with artists and the adventurous members of society who funded them. The only time I saw my Shulkin cousins was at large family celebrations, most often a christening, since the Shulkin women reproduced at a staggering rate. Whenever the extended clan gathered, Mama was the object of pitying glances, only 2 children, and it wasn't until years later that I suspected it wasn't bad luck that had kept my family so small. Vasily and I were more than enough for Mama. If I tell you that my brother was handsome and effortlessly talented at everything from horse riding to dancing, you'll assume I resented him. Quite the opposite. I adored Vasily, with a devotion embedded in my bones. He was 5 years older, an age difference that kept us from being competitive, and he treated me like a pet our parents had brought home to entertain him. And like a puppy, I trailed after him, panting for attention. I had friends my own age, the daughters of families Mama approved of, but Vasily, like the sun, outshone anyone else. In the spring of 1914, I had no premonitions of war, let alone revolution. Yet I remember it as a troubled time. Vasily would be leaving for military college in the fall, and I was already grieving. I tried to be my usual compliant self, the good daughter who never caused trouble. Inside, however, Vasily's departure weighed on me like a sickness. My entire life was oriented toward my brother. Who would I be without him?